morning I have to prune tall grand fir. Nothing special about it. It's a healthy tree actually, but it has like quite a dense canopy on the upper quarter of it. Grand firs do have a tendency to lose their tops and then regrow again, but it's not in a good spot if that happened. And it's a big, hefty, heavy tree. So the idea is to prune to an extent that of what the tree can tolerate, but will reduce the sail effect on the upper canopy. If the thing ever uprooted, it would do a lot of damage because it's tall. Grand fir is heavy wood as well. It's probably about 130, 140 feet or something like that. I'm guessing. Might be less, might be 120, but certainly no less than 120, I wouldn't think. But we'll measure it anyway if I can get some flat ground. Somebody asked me in the last video, left a comment because they saw me using a stick to measure the height of a tree or where it was going to land, and asked what that was about. So I'll show you how to do that. Maybe lots of people know it anyway. It's a simple trick, but it's actually really accurate if you want to measure the tree's height or pace out how far a tree is going to fall. So we'll do that, but the thing with the grand fir is there's nothing to see, there's nothing like unusual about the work that we're going to do. But it's a tricky one to get into because it's very cluttered with small branches, I mean, I say small, they look small from the ground, they're maybe only up to 4 inches across, but there's like hundreds of them all cluttered together. It's very difficult to get a throw line into the tree at a height that gives you a good advantage, and do that confidently. It's going to be hard to see where the line has gone, how safe it is, because it's you can set a line in a tree and put your rope up, hang on the branch and bounce around, but you really should be able to see where the line is rooted, because you can test limbs from the ground and think it's alright, but you may have weakened them by doing that, certainly by bouncing on the line. That's something you have to be wary of. And as well as that, there's every chance when you're firing a throwaway into such a cluttered tree that it's going to get snagged somehow. I just know more often than not when it's worth taking a chance and when it's going to be a complete waste of time, and I'm probably going to end up getting the throw line stuck. So what I'll do is, there is a fir tree adjacent which is a little bit far away. I think I can get it with the grappling hook and traverse across. I think that would be simpler in the long run than trying to get the throw line with the big shot into the grand fir itself. If I traverse across, at least I can see what I'm throwing at and then make a decision based on how well I manage to snag the grappling hook, how safe it's going to be. because I'm on my own today. Dave, who's been helping me more recently, has gone away for the week. This is a sort of job I should have somebody with me, even though there'd be absolutely nothing for them to do, you know, other than chip a few branches that are going to come down, you know. But if I need something else while I'm up there, if I have a change of plan, it's a long way to be up and then have to come down and then go back up again. But there's always the safety aspect as well if something does go wrong. But you know, the homeowner is in who could raise the alarm. I suppose he's going to be watching, and that's just a decision, a risk I'm prepared to take. You know, I do have a lot of confidence in myself. Not that I don't make mistakes, weird things can't happen, but you know, I trust myself more than anybody else. Anyway, not far away, 10 minutes, so I'll see you when we get there. So that's the Grand Fir. That's the Douglas Fir beside it. So we're about 25 feet. This one's leaning away. That's the tree I need to get into and throw the grappling hook across. So as you can see how skinny the branches are. When I said 4 inches before, I was actually overshot. They're more like 2 and 3. So they're nothing really. So you see the heavy head on top of the Grand Fir there. We'd have to step way back to actually see it, but there's like a kink and then it goes up and it's all dense, so you often see these blow and break out up there, but he doesn't want that to happen. So we can prune the top by doing some thinning just to reduce the wind resistance. It's a shame that fir tree isn't a bit taller, but it's going to be still easier to get a line into that. Throw the grappling hook across, as long as I'm confident of what it's snagged in, and then traverse into it, and then I can just go up and do the thinning. I'm not going to thin this lower section, it's just that upper part. So this has a nice curve to the tree, sort of leaning that way, which will make it much easier to rope walk, because I can get my toes against this and it stops your tendency to tip back. So it just means there's a lot less effort involved. It'd be like walking up once the line starts getting some weight below me. I'm not even going to take a chainsaw into that tree. I might regret it when I get there, because Grand Fir wood is quite hard. But I'm going to be carrying enough clutter as it is. I've got to walk up this rope. I have to carry the other line with me that I'll continue on up with. The grappling hook, the lanyard, and the a little bag for the camera. So I'm not going to bother with a chainsaw, I'm not in a rush. I do have another job to do across the road later today, but I think I can manage most of this with a handsaw. But I'm going to take two up in case I drop one. But still be less weight than carrying a chainsaw. The downside of the lean is that we're much further away at the top than what we were at the bottom. I think my line will reach that with the hook on it. Now if I had a ground worker with me, I could put a throw line up high through the top down to the bottom, then pull a climb line up and over, but that's not an option. So I've been looking for a space to throw the hook, and there's a couple of limbs just in there and a gap I can go over and snag the one underneath. Now the one underneath is dead, but grand fir goes very, very hard when it's dead, so it should be strong enough. The other thing I've forgotten is a bag to put my climb line in as I traverse across, assuming I can get the hook in and I feel safe enough to make the maneuver. So the climb line in the bag just means that there's less resistance when you are moving across, because it's a long line, it's going to be hanging down and snagging up a bit, and so I'll probably throw the tail into there somewhere before assuming I'm going to do this. You see the top of the grand fir, it bends over once and then it comes to an abrupt end and bends again. I wouldn't be surprised if the top hasn't already broke off in there somewhere, and that'll be flat and then it's going up again. So we need to thin out that hole from there to here really. The rest is okay. Gone over the wrong, well, and meant to go over the limb above the one it's gone over. That's not a good spot because I'm hanging far out because it's a sloping branch, but it has snagged on the dead stub that I mentioned earlier, but I wanted to go over the top of that other one, but it's so snagged and I have so little line to play with. I'm not sure I can shake it loose, so I might be committed. I don't have to do it, but looking at it, I think at worst this branch that it rubs over is going to snap as my weight goes onto it. That might actually help because it'll send me further into the tree. If I make it over there and it hasn't snapped, I'm sort of dangling a bit in mid-air, but there's stuff I can grab hold of. I'll be a bit of a scramble at the end. So this is not ideal. But I won't take a huge swing if the whole lot goes and I come back. So you might see something interesting actually if it goes. I don't know. I'm not worried about it. I'm not, you know, being foolish. I just think that limb that it's so jammed in there on the dead stub, and another one because there's 3 hooks, that I think I'm going to be all right. If that branch doesn't snap, I'll be amazed. It's got to go, hasn't it? So if I keep one hand sort of on here as well, it might help reduce the swing if I do take a just a shame there's nothing live. Below is where the foot sender comes in handy. Can just move along a little bit more. Stay on there. I'll just go slowly. If I do swing, hopefully that branch will slow me up. I've made sure there was no stubs on that part. I'm close. Stay strong. So whatever happens now, I think I'm safe because I've sort of got a good grip on this limb. why you need a hitch you can reach, not one that's miles away. Okay, so there is a bit of life on that stub after all. This one held up okay because I stayed quite high, didn't drop down low and put lots of downward force on. So first thing I have to do is get my lanyard wrapped around the tree, and then I'm safe, totally safe. Look at all those congested limbs up there. Okay. What I wanted to do was go over both these down and hook it on there. It got jammed in and I didn't have enough slack to flick it, so I was out the end of the line. Anyway, it was worth it. It worked out. So this is the top of the tree. This is the second dog leg. Now, has that blown out before or not? I'm not so sure now. Like maybe it's just grown like this. Don't forget you're on a wide angled lens, so everything does look a bit squashed in, but there's an enormous amount of weight leaning in this direction. So what I'll do is some thinning now, smaller branches, and then maybe a few bigger ones, and just do that for, you know, perhaps another 15 feet below me. I can probably thin it by about, you know, 20-25% on a grand fir is fine, but it will make a difference because we're poking out above everything else here. This tree is totally on its own. There's the inlet there. That's Brentwood Bay over that way. That's Salt Spring Island. That's Mount Newton. So I won't really film the thinning because there's not much to see. Well, I'll show you one branch and then you don't feel cheated. There you go. I'll thin everything and throw it out that way because there's a kind of an archway down below me. Okay, I'll get to it. So I think that's enough. I've just kind of probably 25 feet, top 25 feet I've thinned out. It's like I say, the tree is leaning that way, so I concentrated mostly on that side anyway, and there's no point in pruning the stuff below because it adds no leverage really. It's this top section that is the most vulnerable and catches the wind and would initiate a failure if it was to happen. I would suggest that we look at this again in 3 years. That's what I'll say to Ray, the owner, and see how much regrowth has come back, especially on this top part. There won't be much below us. The yellow foliage you can see, that's to be expected at the end of a very dry season that we've had. But as long as the tips are nice and green, then there's nothing really to worry about. So I'll make my way down. I'm going to have to tie in again, so I won't make it down on this 200-foot line. I'll have to tie in somewhere low down, so I'll keep an eye on where the end of my rope is. as it comes my way. Okay, I'll see you problem when you get adventurous with the camera work is that I've got to go back up this fir tree now and retrieve it. It's only, well, it's about 110 feet I think where I set it, so, but you know, it's I'll be up and down in a few minutes. Okay, I forgot to do this on site. I'm just on my way home now. So this is for LB Powers, who emailed me and also left a comment on the last video. He was asking how to use the stick, the measuring stick, to estimate the height of a tree or how far it's going to fall. So I'm going to use this here. I'm going to hold the camera near to where my eye is, so I don't know how well this is going to work, how accurately you're going to see it, but I'll explain it in principle. So you need a stick and you need to hold your hand where level with your eye. Okay, so that's about level. My fist is level with my eye, and if I angle the stick back to the point where it touches my eye, keeping my arm straight like that, and my hand at the same level as my eye. Okay, So that's about the right distance now. So when I angle the stick back, it's touching my eye now, just slightly past the camera. The camera is at my eyes level. So, and then you stand it upright, not tilted either way, it's got to be dead vertical. And then you walk back with the stick. Keep going back until the tree itself fits in to the stick. So you see, can you see the top and the bottom fits in there? This tree slightly drops down the hill, so if we were going to put a falling cut right there level with where my hand is, and if it fits in from top to bottom, there's no overlap, and we felled the tree this way, where we're stood now is where it's going to land. Does take a little bit of practice, and you can make a mistake if you're slightly crooked or you're on sloping ground, or the tree is leaning back or forward. But if it's straight up like that and your stick is straight up and it fits in, then we're stood just about exactly where it's going to land. And bear in mind that trees do surge forward a little bit when they land, so you have to factor that in, as well as if you're cutting the tree high, your hand at the bottom has to be where you're going to make the undercut. I'm waggling it about as I'm talking, but and if you wanted to measure the tree height, if you weren't falling, if you just wanted an estimate of the tree height, then you do the same thing. You get it to fit into the stick and then you pace it out. You know, if you can accurately step 1 meter, then you know, you just pace it out, taking 1 meter strides all the way to the tree. So and that's it. It's really that simple. But you do need something that's straight like a bamboo. Sometimes you can find straight sticks on site, branches and what have you. I mean, there's other ways of doing it as well, but that's what I was taught by a fella called Dan Thomas, who is in Australia somewhere. He showed me that in '92. Dan, fantastic climber he was. I don't think he's still doing tree work, but I think he's involved with trees. So and they used to teach it at college. I don't know if they still do, but they should do, because it's really simple and it's very, very accurate. Anyway, I'm gonna get going.